All right, English 9. Good morning. It's Mrs. Sopiarz-Rianda. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend and are ready to finish off our second unit on editorial writing. First, I want to give a huge virtual high five for all of your hard work on October 1st. Remember, I know there's been a lot of controversy, especially in Jeffco, about count day, but it is super important because remember, that's how we keep our doors open and that's how we get funded for having our school. So super important. It was super important. It continues to be super important. So I just want to say thank you for all of you that logged in and completed that topic quick write. So thank you again. You guys did a great job on that. Moving on though, this week, like I mentioned, we are working on our last session of the unit. Last week you worked on your pre-writing and you wrote your first draft of the editorial. And what we're going to be doing this week is really, like I said last week was really the big push. That was where all your hard work came in, because part of the writing process is your pre-writing. And a lot of students don't like pre-writing because it's so much work. But the good news is once you put all of that work up front, you can create a quality first draft. And that's what you guys did last week. So this week what we're doing is we are revising and editing that first draft. And then you will be submitting that final draft into turnitin.com at the end of the week. Okay, so this week wait, wrong one. Go back. I took the long route here. So Unit 4 is due by Sunday, October 12th. And we're going to be completing the writing process with editing, revising, and finally submitting it, like I mentioned, to turnitin.com. And then at the end of this session, you'll also be doing an editorial exit slip for Unit 2, which is kind of like a journal, basically. So here are all the important announcements, again, for the week. As always, we have the Q&A, optional Q&A office hours. But if you need to contact me, you can always just do that, right? You guys know that. Here is that information if you can't open videos for whatever reason. This has been a big success for many students who complain they can't open videos. Also, did want to mention that late work, again, for Unit 2, the due date for that is Sunday, October 19th. Remember, you can still receive late work for anything in Unit 2 except discussion for up to 85% credit. So that's a really big day, so make sure you put that on your calendar. Also, next week, something to put on your calendars, maybe your parents already have it on their calendar, are parent-teacher conferences. So on Tuesday, I will have virtual parent-teacher conferences where I provide a link much like for office hours, and you and parents or just parents can come on and chat with me about your progress in class, and or you can't make that. Face-to-face is going to be at Glennon Heights on Thursday, next Thursday. So be on the lookout for all of those details on the student page, okay? So again, here are here's the list of assignments and the point value. You can tell that's a big whopper because the editorial is worth 150 points. And then here is our suggested schedule for the week. Okay, so be sure to follow this suggested schedule if you need some help as far as time management and creating those routines. I know everyone's on a different schedule, but it does help to have someone create your schedule for you. So that's what I do for you. So first and foremost, here are those requirements and guidelines to writing an editorial. And this is information taken from last week. But I also do want to point out to you that your formatting and style guide should be according to the MLA. So click on that link, and it's just simple 12 font, whether it be Arial or Times New Roman, double spaced, 1-inch margins, that kind of stuff. So it needs to follow the MLA formatting and style guide. So be sure to click on that when you are reviewing your draft before you submit it to your final. Make sure that it follows those guidelines. So in the initial review, hopefully you've let your paper rest for a couple of days. And that means that basically once you pick it up again in a day or two, that you can see it with some fresh eyes. I do this all the time. I make so many errors. It's embarrassing sometimes. But if you just let it rest, even for a minute, I promise you when you go back, you can see things with fresh eyes and be like, oh, I didn't see that before. Okay, so do that today before the very first thing you do, before you do anything else, okay? With some fresh eyes, go back and review this checklist and print out a draft of your editorial and mark up all of the places that answers these questions, okay? Because your goal is to really make this the best draft possible, okay? So once you do that initial review, the next step in our revision process is going to be checking for sentence structure. Now, sentence structure means that you have a variety of different sentences: simple, compound, complex. And I know this is review for many of you, most of you, but it's a really good refresher. So what this lesson, this closed study is, it helps you identify simple, compound, and complex sentences and helps you find that and use a variety of those structures in your writing. Because if you do, it creates a rhythm and it shows relationship and it directs the reader's attention to the most important things, okay? So here what you'll be doing is there's different instruction in this particular close study. You should read this information about writing sentences and then watch this 3 to 4 minute video on the same thing but includes a little bit more information. And then once you review all that information, you're going to go ahead and practice that by playing a video game. And if you click on this link, you should go to this icon that looks like this. Click on high, because that's for high school. And then it will take you through a couple different levels of practice on all the information presented in the video and in the handout down here. So once you've done that, you are going to click next and going to be taking a quiz on varying sentence structure. Okay? Once you've taken that quiz, what you'll do before you submit your final, where'd that go? Before you submit your final editorial checklist, is you're going to review your draft for varying sentence structures. Make sure that you've mixed it up, that you have simple, compound, and complex sentences in your editorial. Then, very, very important here, before you submit your final and as you're doing your editing process, you have to look at my feedback from your first draft, from session 3. I will have feedback for you no later than Tuesday, okay? And I don't like repeating myself too much. So if you don't look at the feedback from your first draft and you've made that same mistake in your final, I'm going to say, where'd you go? I'm going to say, go back to your first draft and read my feedback, okay? And you can find that feedback in your gradebook. Click on your assignment in the Dropbox, and that's where you can see all the feedback, okay? So be sure to do that before you submit your final. When you submit your final, you are going to be turning it in to turnitin.com. So the bulk of my feedback is going to be on your first draft because that's where you need the most help. It's your draft, right? So all the feedback I'm going to be really giving you is on your first draft. In your second draft, which you're going to be turning into turnitin.com, that's where I'm going to be using the rubric and giving you some just general feedback at that point. So that's why it's super duper important to check that feedback on your first draft. I can't stress it enough, okay? And then you're going to go through this checklist and make sure you have all of these important elements of the editorial. And then finally, you're going to be submitting your final draft. Here is that rubric one more time, so be sure to review that rubric along with your paper. And here are directions, detailed directions on how to submit your paper into turnitin.com. You will not turn it into Schoology. Like I said right here, All assignments will be graded on the Turnitin website, and then I will transfer the grades into Schoology. Okay, so you're not going to submit anything here. You're not able to. Okay, you need to submit it into Turnitin.com, and that's where you need to go back for the feedback as well. And then once you are done with your editorial, have submitted it into Turnitin.com, and have taken a big deep breath, now it's just time to reflect. And that's what you're going to be doing in this Unit 2 exit slip, is just thinking about what you have been doing in this unit, what you've learned in this unit, and be sure to answer all of these questions in thoughtful, complete sentences using PIA. And then you're done with the session and the unit. Have a great week, and if you need any help this week, please contact me. Thanks, guys.